everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you, and I'm so honored to have with me mi hermana, my sister, an amazing conversation that we're gonna be sharing with you. And actually, I'm gonna let her to introduce herself. So let's welcome to my beautiful sister, Claudia VillaCova. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Soy Claudia VillaCova, and introduce myself. Well, there's a bio that's been attached to this. So I think the only thing I want to say is that I'm very honored to be here with mi hermana, Brisa del Mar, and very humbled to be invited into this conversation. I'll introduce myself in the way that Indigenous practices do in circles, and that is to acknowledge that I am the granddaughter of Josefina Covarrubias y Refugio, Maria Refugio Lozano. And that those are the two women, the two grandmothers, that really I owe to, I have gratitude, and that what I do and how I practice and how I move in the world, I've been through so many different trainings and workshops and circles and organizations and experiences through life, the biggest teacher in my life. All of it has returned me to the practices of my grandmothers. And so that all that I do, I owe it to them. The teachings they gave me without teaching, but by being and sharing their lives and their work, has influenced me and continues to influence me, and it is at the core of what I do. And so as a medicine woman, circle keeper, and ceremonialist, I welcome in the grandmothers, the ancestors. I recognize my intentionality that everything I say and do in this circle, this dyad, and the circle, this web circle that we are creating, co-creating, is an offering. It's an offering for movement that is moving from within me as my body continues to awaken, that it's impacting so many women and men in this time. And so all of this that I do today and throughout my moving in life is an offering. May we all be liberated. May we all wake up and enter one mind and body to the conscious evolution of humans being liberated and recognizing that there's so many ways to be and live in this world together. And I think that's a good introduction. What do you think, Brisa?
It's beautiful. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for really being intentional, creating that space and opening. And it's such a great start when you talk about one mind, one body. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, thank you. I will, absolutely. I'm going to put my glasses on. One mind and one body. Well, first of all, it's a recognition that we are one mind, one body. That as a human race, we are of one mind and one body. We are interconnected. And that's not a belief system, that's a knowing, that's science. And so kind of like as a single being, we are a compilation of many things. We're a mosaic as individual human beings. As is true as well, as a collective, we're a mosaic. And so our minds can get scattered and fragmented, and we need to be clear as to where we're going. We need to put all our efforts together to where is it that we want to go so that movement and progress can happen. And so in this moment, when there's so much division, when we're really waking up that we are living in a culture of hate and rage and destruction, it is so imperative and so important that we come together and agree as to a vision, as to what are we wanting to create. What we see and believe becomes a possibility if we then create the structure, the vehicle to make that happen, and then we enter in the doing. First comes the vision, and for that to come, we have to sit still, be with ourselves, feel what we're feeling, be present, collect ourselves, What are your needs? What do you want? Talk to your community sideways, all colors. Come together. And together, we then can create an individual vision, or a unified vision that does not erase the individual. The mosaic, the diversity of being in the world, the expressions have to be alive like the rainbow, but we have to agree of what kind of human dignity do we want. And so I am of the idea that we are entering the culture of love, radical love, much bigger and much more colorful than romance love. That, you know, it seems like that's what we hear a lot about. We write music about it, but there's a radical, very wild love that has all of it. Something like the wild jungle or the untouched forest, the deep sea that has everything in it, and there's a respect for the natural laws and natural cycles, and we get out of the way and help facilitate those natural cycles of love. And a good example I like to use and share and meditate on is the relationship between us and trees. Nature teaches us everything about life if we slow down and listen. The relationship between trees and humans. We are able to be humans, free to do what we want, and yet we are dependent on trees to breathe, to live. And what we exhale and don't need, the trees need and take in and give back. And there is no this. It's a beautiful dance. We're free to be, they're free to be, and we are interrelated and dependent on each other. Our lives, our survival depends on this relationship with trees. What a beautiful example of love. All we have to do is care for each other, and the trees hold up their bargain. They do take care of us. Do we? And so that's my vision, a culture of love where we understand what is it to truly embody self-sovereignty and respect the self-sovereignty of others, dignity, integrity, and still be free and dance and feel our joy, but also being aware of how we impact others and that we care, that we have empathy, and that we don't leave anybody behind. And so the one body and mind is to be clear, what do I need to do to contribute my little grain of salt to this vision, which collectively we are creating? And so that's a long answer.
Thank you. No, this is so great because you go directly exactly what I want you to kind of share more, even your personal experience, because you talk about 3 different elements, right? So we are nature. We have relationship with nature. How to build that? Will that come into personal responsibility? How am I doing that in a way that I'm supporting and I'm receiving and creating that dance that you're talking about? That is so beautiful how you say it.
Thank you.
That's just one thing. When we talk about nature, right? So she is love. Mother Earth is love, and she's holding us. You talk about radical love. Okay. So what that means to you, what that means, like radical love, and when I hear a lot in unconditional love, I feel there is a misconception what that really means, unconditional love. And I would like to hear your perspective and in the way that you incorporate it in your life, taking personal responsibility for what are you creating and how you building that connection with Mother Earth and the radical love of unconditional love.
Thank you. Well, that's a very heavy question. I will do my best to answer. What is radical love? How do I define it? I think that's the thing, you know, as I'm living, I'm learning what that means, right? I'm creating the vision. I'm looking to nature for examples of that. And our ancestors, the indigenous peoples know that when we get disconnected from nature, we forget our own nature. And I think I'll start with the beginning. Our relationship to Mother Earth. It's an inner relationship. We're not fighting or connecting with nature. We are nature. When we fight for clean air, when we raise our voices about clean water, we're protecting ourselves. you know? Like there's no disconnection. Nature is not outside, it's in me. And so the relationship with Mother Earth and with Cosmic Mother and all that's around us is an inner connection and relationship. And so the work is inward, and that is the journey of the sacred feminine. It's an inward, downward spiral into the moon space, into the empty, dark space, right? The emptiness, the nothing, where all well then comes in the light, and from the spark and life begins, or the possibility of life or something created begins, right? And so it is about going into the body and waking it up. We are way too connected and caught up in our heads. White supremacy, colonization brought in this worship of the written word, worship of stories coming from the West, European ideology, worshiping of gods that are male and punitive. And we've swallowed it, digested it, and now we're confused. And so we've learned to numb our bodies. We've not been really given the culture that allows us to nurture our bodies in honoring its rhythms. Well, there's a connection to Earth. We don't honor the Earth's rhythms. We want her to give us tomatoes 24 hours a day. We have houses built, growing tomatoes. I know this because I have family that work in these. They have 3 shifts, and they're, dishing out tomatoes, not in the earth, and don't even taste like tomatoes. That's not respecting the earth. That's not respecting ourselves, right? And so we have to go back inside. And this is very important for women. I can speak more about that later. Born females or womb work, indigenous womb work. So connecting to our bodies, feeling our bodies, take an honest examination of how you've internalized white supremacist culture, the culture of oppression, the culture of oppressor, this domination and control, moving through things through force and muscle and getting things to do what we want, power hoarding, one leader, one idea, one story, and getting people motivated to do it, all that stuff. We have to look at that. What has that caused us? We've become numb. We're constantly looking for ways to consume, constantly looking for ways to make us feel better. We have this new age message of, balance and equilibrium, which is a place we want to go for resource and resting, but that's not where life and living happens. And so we have to learn how to show up for ourselves. I need to be able to sit with my anxiety, with my pain, with my fear. I need to get comfortable with not knowing and get over this idea that I have to know and I have to have a plan and I need to know the results before I commit to something, or that I need to know how to do something before I do it. It's so silly. We learn as we do. We learn as we show up. And so it is about connecting to our bodies. As we connect and decolonize, clear out, desahogar, vomit, purge, all that crap that we've taken on as true, sort of like this analogy of the diamond that has all these, and we got to polish and remove. And just when you think you're done, there's another layer and another layer, and you got to keep going. And the gift is your body starts to wake up. What do I mean by that? Your body, my beautiful body, has a natural intelligence. It knows what to do. We are animals. Look at every animal on this planet. It's instinctual. It knows when to go away because there's a storm coming and find shelter. It knows when it's time to eat. It knows when the sun is coming up. It knows when to go to bed. It knows when to wake up and sing its song. Our bodies do too, Our bodies know what we need to eat. It's information, right? And so our body knows if it needs this or that to make it work efficiently. The brain knows what it needs to have a clear mind. The body knows, but we have so many sensory inputs coming at us, telling us what to do left and right. It gets so confusing. And so our natural neurological response to overwhelming stimulus is to check out of the body. And of course, we have a history of trauma. So we have to work through that to get back and be silent with ourselves. Feel the tension, the stories. What are the stories we're holding on to, we're carrying, our stories of trauma and pain? breathe through them, connect, learn to connect to the breath. And as the body wakes up and activates, everything around you starts to talk to you. But more importantly, you can receive the information. And then there's a conversation. And then you recognize who you are, what a beautiful being, and what a powerful being you are, and how much power is stored in our emotions. And so having stocked up emotion disrupts the natural life power force that goes through our bodies, that connects us to the earth and to consciousness above. And as we shake that and open that up, we get activated. We get a surge of energy, wanting to create, to do something. We get activated. And then we got to examine, where are we on that hierarchical ladder of racism? What have we abandoned about ourselves, our culture, to assimilate because we were cornered? If we wanted to get our needs met, we had to accept racism. We had to accept oppression. And so we got to look at that now that we have more options and more freedom available, and start to examine, how are we, me in my personal relationships, reenacting power and control dynamics? Where am I not listening? Where am I not collaborating and co-creating? Where is it might is right? Where am I enforcing and pushing my ideology without opening space for others to come in? So this is the time of this circle, right? And so this is where love comes in. Actually, it's not where love comes in, but it's a door for love to be shared. As we connect with our bodies, a natural sense of love. Life power, life force is love. And there aren't really words to describe it. That's the problem for me. What I do know is that when I'm feeling the love, there's no sense of disconnection. There's no other. And then there is also another. It's both. There's an integration, a sense of, I can see the truth. So I have this mantra of, may I see things as they are now, as I want them. And so as love continues to come in, I just have this understanding. I get it. I don't get caught in the bullshit behavior that gets thrown at me from someone who's struggling. I can see, oh my gosh, they're struggling. And I feel it with my body. And if I want to utter a harsh word, something in my body goes, like, no, don't do that. I'll regret it later, right? Your body starts talking, because love is the natural human state. It really is. It's not true that humans are violent. We can get to that point like any animal, but that's not our essence. We want to love. And so what conditional? It's empathy, it's compassion, but from a place of self, in the sense that as I go deeper to understand and have patience and compassion, understanding from my own experience, as I go in, I go out. So as I learn myself, I start to understand others. And it's not from a space of, you just start to see how it's all connected, right? And so the love happens as I continue to see that we're all walking each other home. And when I examine and somebody does something that annoys me, I remember that they're reflecting something about me, and or that I've done that or am doing that. And it's like, like I said, if we're still and pay attention, nature teaches us. Humans are nature. So we need to pay attention, be a witness. Don't close your eyes. Witness. Say yes to what shows up. Touch your heart to keep it soft, even when it wants to close. It is a gift to yourself. Keep that belly soft. Take your time to digest what you see and what you feel. Be vigilant of your medicine. Your love and your joy is your medicine. Don't let just anything enter in those very vulnerable spaces when there's growth happening. Know what you can and cannot handle. Treat yourself like you would want to treat the stream in the mountain, how you would want to treat lake water that we drink from, how you would want to treat the air, how you would want to treat a recently planted tree. Treat yourself in the same way. Remember that at any age, we are still every age we have lived. And so that little child, that young child is still within us. And he has to be taken into account when we enter dynamics and systems. And we have to be aware of that voice, nestled in a safe space, allowing the adult, wise person to speak. So I don't know if I've defined what love is. I know what it feels like. It's powerful. It feels expansive. I feel I can do anything. It heals my body. It opens my mind. I get moved to tears. I feel soft and gentle. I feel like I want to hug, and not from a physical place, although that too, from a soul place. It's this pull to want to rest my cheek against the soul of that other being, or this sense of wanting to dance with passion and raw fire to the dance of the drum under the moon. It's going naked into the lake water in the mid of winter and allowing my body to relax and accept that that is good for me as well. It's all of it showing up despite trembling. And I'm not talking about abuse, of course. I'm talking about being able to build discernment through life experiences as to what is safe and what is not, understanding that the body has an intelligence. And if we rely only on our mind, we are forced to rely on words, language, opinions, ideology to make a decision whether we can trust someone or not. And that makes us vulnerable to manipulation, that makes us not sure about things. But when we ground in our bodies, base our decisions and our ideas on our lived experience, it's coming from a place of knowing. Trust asks that we are vulnerable and that we have hope. We need to be very thoughtful about where we hand our trust, which doesn't mean we can't enter vulnerable, intimate spaces with strangers. So we need to know the nuance with that relating has so many shapes and colors and levels of it that we don't have to be either I trust or I don't trust. That's a polarization. There's so much flesh in the middle. And we learn what that looks like as we say yes to intimate connections, emotional connections, honest dialogue with strangers, with friends, with lovers, with family members, no matter where they stand on the political, social. We need to be able to sit down, hold space in our bodies, and listen. That is love. And also know when to say no. That's also love. When to close the door when love stops being served, but to do it with love and compassion. We don't have to make somebody a monster or bad or ugly to feel affirmed in our decisions. Okay, so I'm talking a lot. I'm ready to have you talk.
I love. You are sharing everything that I want to ask you, and I appreciate so much. Like my body is so warm, and my heart is just expanding. I'm so grateful that you sharing all of that, and you talk about very specific things when we talk about we are in our heads, and we don't allow our body to talk to us, right? To be in a stillness and listening to it. And when we talk about healing, the racial healing that we're going through right now. So you talk about a very specific things where the love is, when to say no. And some people might hear this and might say, what do you mean, right? So for somebody who has no idea what it really is to feel their body, that they struggle, that they want, but they don't know. They like, I don't know what that means. Why? Because they're in their head. So what can you tell them to somebody who wants that so badly to connect with their body and go into that space of healing in a different way, and when to enter and when not to enter? because you talk about another point very specific. There is a lot of information out there. There is a lot information, and might get cut off in those things that confuse more somebody like that. What would you say to somebody like that?
Yes. So, the racial healing that's happening right now, that's opening right now, has to do with reclaiming. And I'll speak specifically to women because that's what I have experience with, right? I'm a woman. I'm a woman-born woman, identify as a woman. And I was raised with the indigenous culture and knowledge of womb work, of connecting with my womb as a woman. And even though I am a lesbian and I identify as a lesbian, the womb work has nothing to do with sexual orientation at all. And so womb work is a beginning. And so what I would say to someone, well, first of all, going back to the racial healing. So it's a reclaiming of our bodies, right? So as a indigenous woman, mestiza, because I also have Spanish blood, my ancestors were removed from their land, were removed from their practices of being able to grow their own food and feed themselves. Even though my grandmother was a farmer and did grow her own food, it was a very different circumstance. Many laws of colonization came in and changed things, displaced people from their homeland in a way that allowed them to live in a very close proximity to the rhythms and natures of the natural earth. And were forced into colonized white culture way of living, right? Promising that life would be easier if they didn't have to milk their own cows and grow their own food. You'll have more free time and right? So the stories start to come in, as well as the religious ideology, right? And trying to take control and possession of power and resources. We are the power and resources, right? So there's a displacement of land, and there's control of my power and resources, my energy, my vision, right? That gets taken way back, right? And so our disconnection to our land disconnects us to our bodies. When we're not connected to the land, to the earth, and we're not interacting, our body gets disconnected, right? There's a natural flow that's happening. So recovering from that is generational, as well as what that does. That allows violence to come in. We lose connection with this sense of love as you plant the seeds in the soil and it gives back to you. That's another example of this reciprocity of love, right? We forget that, right? And so then we have men and women enslaved, forced labor, modernized slave labor. And then there's the destruction of the family system. So most of us are coming from dysfunctional families, families leaving their country, like my parents, to come to a country that promised a better life, a better economic future, better education, without understanding that it's a white supremacist culture that was created for their own kind, for the future generation of white families that first settled on these lands, and that they settled on these lands by almost completely killing off the natives of this land, wiping out their language, sending the children to schools to whitewash and impose religious ideology, take away their language, take away their culture, cut their hair, just horrific. We have those stories in our bodies. And so in doing healing work, it is absolutely in alignment with reclaiming your body, because we are all carrying these horrific stories of what has been done to our people. I know the story of my parents and my grandparents and what colonization and white supremacy culture has done to them, and how I then took that on. And so in doing my own work, I had to sit and understand the stories, reconnect with my real history and herstory of my ancestral information. Stop believing this idea that I'm an immigrant. My family is of this continent. I'm not an immigrant. If your ancestors did not come from this continent, you are an immigrant, with the exception, of course, to the Black people from Africa that were stolen, captured, enslaved, and brought here by force. Everybody else that's come here has been as immigrants, and that's okay, but we need to be careful about the narrative, right? And so in reclaiming these stories, feeling what our people have gone through, we start to feel our bodies. When we don't process our emotional content, our stories, our personal life, my own stories of trauma, of sexual abuse, of verbal abuse, of growing up in a dysfunctional family, of domestic violence, of community violence, of not being able to see on television anybody that looked like me, going to schools and nobody looked like me, that were teaching, that no positions of power look like me, that the people that look like me were cleaning the streets. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but that there wasn't this natural display of diverse ways of being in the world for people that look like me. One of my saving graces was that I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and so that was not true in Mexico. I did see people that look like me in different positions of power and all that. And so that helped me. But still, going into my body, feeling, crying, breaking down many times, feeling like I was losing my mind, letting go, having to let go of this idea of I'm an independent, intelligent, accomplished woman, and recognizing that I didn't know what I was doing. I was very ill, not because I was actually ill, but because I had been poisoned by a singular story that was organized and intentional at killing my spirit, at breaking my back so that I would align to this white supremacist story and keep this economy going. And so as I started to sit still, and literally having a sitting meditation practice where I sit still, not knowing what I was doing, and something started to happen. I started to feel my pain, my sorrow, and it was hard work. And then I started to find the people that could help me, abuelas, women that are lived, that have experience, not young people that just graduated and have theoretical ideas about trauma and all that stuff. Women that have lived their own experience and have a lot to share. So I found the grandmothers, a couple of grandfathers, and I kneeled at their feet, not knowing what to do. And I asked for advice. And I remember the first time one grandmother said to me, Claudia, vete y bañate, go take a bath con agua salada y flores. Put some flowers in there. And she said, and when you're done, get some oil that feels good to your skin. And very slowly, as if you are giving a massage to a newborn, I want you to touch every inch of your body. And as you're doing that, engage your senses, move slow. Ask your hands to know what they are touching, to awaken what they are touching. And so I did that for many months, and I still do that actually. Not that slow, but I massaged my body. I remember, looking at my vagina and, massaging and just getting in touch with my breast and my ears, every single part of my body. And it was quite a surprising journey of how much, not just emotional content I had not processed, but how much just, I guess, from the child that, first discovers tactile functioning, that child didn't get a chance to really explore its tactile functions, right? It didn't get to play with the spaghetti and the jello and the water in the way that my brain and my neurology needed at the pace and with all the time that I wanted, right? I was born to immigrant parents who had to work. And so I was rushed around. I didn't have this opportunity to play. And so giving yourself the opportunity to feel your body, pay attention. And with that, I started to wake up my gut. I started to wake up my heart, literally feeling the heartbeat, the rhythms behind it, be able to use my drum to mimic the heartbeats of my heart. I started to understand what smells I liked and what smells I didn't like. I stopped using clothing that was not natural fiber because I noticed the difference what it did to my body and the temperature of my body. I started to find places to be naked in nature, feel the sun on my skin. My body started to talk to me as things that it needed to do. And it was through pleasure, sensations, sensual. And that is according to indigenous practices, this is the sacred feminine. The sacred feminine moves and sways. It's sweet, it's seductive, it's juicy, it's playful, it's gentle, it's amor, pero ven aquí, mi amor, déjame te doy un abrazo, preciosa. It's the women that put their fingers through your hair and they look at you with such love and beauty. Doing that to myself. So then, now if I meet somebody and something is off, I will get a nauseous, something is off here, step back. Doesn't mean that person is bad or I need to move away or, but just to pay attention, move slow, so my body's constantly telling me. We have mirror neurons. We're supposed to feel what each other is feeling. If I'm with someone who's depressed, I'm going to feel depressed. If I'm with someone who's frenetic, I leave going, I have to ground. So we are swimming in each other's emotional seas, right? We need to be open to that. We need to learn to be okay with feeling other people's stuff. Enough of this like blocking and we need to be porous and hold our own through that process. How do I stay connected to the information my body's providing me about how I feel about where I'm at and who I'm with and what I'm hearing, while I also connect and receive what that person is feeling and doing and communicating. So I think the ocean is a really good example of like when you're in the water and you just let go and open, everything in the ocean is swimming in and everything within you is swimming out energetically. Before we're physical, we are light and energy. So I hope that answers your question.
That's amazing. That's really so great. You cover a lot of things, and really, so what I hear is like really. Go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot one thing. After the body stuff and connecting and building that relationship with you, then we have to start putting that into practice in interpersonal relationships. It's not just you sitting at home. You can lose your mind and create all kinds of stories. Then you got to rub up against other people and challenge your reality, co-create reality. You have to then practice being vulnerable, speaking from your heart and your vulnerability, your personal truth, no matter what, no guarantees, right? Knowing when to do that, building discernment. But we have to heal and we have to connect. We're cells. And like the brain, if it's not making synapses and connections, that cell will die. Our life depends on being connected to others and feeling them physically and feeling them emotionally, feeling them until full body engagement. That's why we're so hungry. Our bodies are starving and thirsty. This cheap connection that we tend to have with chit chat, not enough. This politeness, saying what is okay because we don't want to rock the boat, which is white supremacist culture, not enough. I want to be able to step in the fire with you, Brisa, which I know you do. And I want to have an honest dialogue. I want to see you and reflect you, and I want you to see me and reflect me. And that's what gives me a sense of I'm real, I'm alive, I'm here. And we need communities to do that. And so that's
really great.
Other community.
A community. And the way, so what I hear, the way to really start doing that, the illness stillness, meditation is a great tool for people to do that.
Yes, meditation is like brushing your teeth. Don't leave the house before you meditate.
Yes, every morning when you wake up, first thing in the morning. This is great. And I love that you talk about that. Like it's about meditating, connecting, receiving, the wisdom, what it comes from source, from Mother Earth, yes. And co-creating.
Yes.
So do you feel that that's what it's happening right now with the spiritual bypassing?
Yes. So I think racial healing, it's important right now. We need to touch our pain, find out what was done to us, what was done to our people, what are our roots? What are stories that are true? Where are we grounding, right? And then how do I want to show up, and what do I want to do about that in the world, right? And so as we do that, Brisa, I'm losing now. I lost your question. I started with something and now I lost it. What was the question again?
So when you were talking about like do the meditation, connect with yourself and co-create instead of like just doing that, and if that is part of the spiritual bypassing that is happening right
Right.
now.
Right. So as we go in and do our work, you can't skip that part, right? So I keep hearing, and I get calls and requests, like, how do I connect to my spirituality? How do I connect to, and and I say, one, there's no such thing as spirituality being outside. We are spiritual beings, that whether we know that or consciously do that or not, we're connected spiritually all the time, right? So I think what that means is like, how do I get a felt sense of being connected to my spirituality? And so then my next question is, we need to learn how to be human. Do you know how to be human? Do you know how to be in relationship with yourself and with others? Because that's where it is. It's right there. You cannot go into this like Om and yoga and all this other stuff if you don't know how to get along with each other. It's like, what's the point? Isn't it the point? Like, And so spiritual bypass is when you haven't done the inner work, right? It takes a lot of work, and it's not done, right? You're never done. You're always learning something about yourself. You don't get to skip that work, and it has to be embodied. It cannot be theoretical. It cannot be, you've read all these self-help books, awesome. They can help, I guess. They have great ideas, but really it's an inner journey. It's a listening to the self. At the center of all this, we have to be able to soothe our own nervous system. We have to sit still and know how to say yes or no. Do I want to do this? I got this great idea. I've got this offer. What do I do? Sit. Do you know what your body feels when it's a yes? Do you know how to get consent from your body? Do you know how your body feels its constriction when it's a no? Do you go in your head and say, well, what if it's wrong? Do you honor your body? Do you enslave your body, or do you have a friendship with your body? Do you respect your body? My body is my altar.
That's so beautiful, because this is our temple, this is our foundation, this is our sacred space.
Yes.
And when you talk about it, just came when you talk about like you can do all these practices, but you don't do that inner work. It just not align. And I see a lot of happen mostly nowadays about the medicine plan, that people continue going just to a quick fix, which is not like that. So the sacred plant medicine, it's sacred. It's about honoring them. And what is
Yep.
really the intention into that? So the medicine really opened the door to see you, but it doesn't mean that it's going to do those things for you. Could you
Yes.
please extend into that?
Yeah, it's about plant medicine.
Yes.
And yes. So I think spiritual bypass is that too, right? So it's this idea that somebody else is going to come heal you and give you enlightenment and all that stuff. And guess what? Look in the mirror. That's the person that you have to be talking to. Yeah, plant medicine. So I do. I'm not facilitating right now, but I work with psilocybin, and I have facilitated circles and awakening through psilocybin, and I've done frog medicine, gabo, and I've done ayahuasca, awashuma, the traditional medicines of my people, urukomi, which some people call it peyote. So I've done all those medicines under the careful watch of medicine people, and when my body was ready. I've been doing the inner work since I was a teenager. I've been surrounded by medicine people my whole life. And so I think we need to be careful. Plant medicine is not for everyone. you have to have a cultural context or someone that can actually help you with that. And I've learned the hard way, because I have open spaces thinking I was ready or that I knew, and with people, and seeing that they did not have a cultural context, and then having to do a lot of nurturing to restore that. And so I've learned through personal experience how dangerous plant medicine is, can be, in the sense of the psyche, and our sense of understanding, especially if you're living in a culture that's completely the opposite of what plant medicine teaches us, right? And so plant medicine opens you up in a way that can be very ungrounding, and just it throws you out of this time space thing in a way that gives you this idea that, yeah, you get information, absolutely. Plants, are one of our oldest ancestors, and you're entering very, very intimate, sacred dialogue with plants, right? And they're giving you information about yourself, about your ancestry, about your place in the world, about your work, and that is to be handled with respect and with love, and having medicine people that are really have done the inner work, and that are connected, and that their medicine is clean. It's coming from a place of love and understanding. And it's a journey. So you get the vision, you get the information. Now what? You still got to wash the dishes. You still got to do your laundry. You still got to figure out how to talk to your teenage daughter. You still have to learn how to have intimate relationships. You still got to go through the practice of learning when to say something, when not to say something, when to hold space. You still got to learn those things. You cannot shortcut lived experience. You can read all the books you want. You can go to all the conferences. You can be connected to all these medicine people and go and get the medicine and feel good for a little while. Still got to go back home, figure out how to talk to people, figure out how to collaborate, go inside and look at your own power dynamics. We've all aligned and identified at some level to the oppressor or the power over dynamic. We all have it in us to some level. And if we don't, it's easy to get into it because we're surrounded by it. So we have to be watchful and keep an eye on that. No plant medicine is going to remove that from us, right? We have to take responsibility and become creatrixes or creators of our own lives, authorship, engineers of our own lives. Nothing can give you, nothing, you can't take anything to do that for you. We have to face our choices. I've made choices that I can't get out of now for the rest of my life, and I have to face that because those are choices I made. And so by doing this work, racial healing, learning how to connect, how to hold space, have nuanced conversations with people from all different walks of life, understanding what is my power, not giving it away, not putting my power and my resource behind other people's dreams that hurt other people. Recognizing what's my dream and making sure that my resources are going towards my dream, and that my dream is in alignment to humanity, to nature, that it doesn't go against nature, earth, that it's sustainable. So all those things, right? It takes a lot of work and effort, and it takes community. Do I know how to do I know how to pick my community? Do I know how to build resources? Do I know where to go for food? Do I know where to go to be nurtured, to be taught, to learn? Do I know where not to go? Do I know how to detect bullshit? So all those things you learn by showing up and practicing in life. So the plant medicine, I think, is important in that it can penetrate and open up, make the Maya, the veil, that kind of come down. But you have to be ready. You have to have done some deep work. Your psyche is very delicate. It's very fragile. And I think a lot of people, because we have this tough and cool, or I don't know, and we enter something without knowing, and it can completely disrupt our system. We're very delicate energetically, actually. As strong as we feel, there's a very, very soft, delicate balance to our system that we really need to learn what that means and how to hold and nurture that balance. And so all of that needs to be taken into consideration, as well as why are we doing that? What is it that you were trying to get away from and get to? It's like, be present now, right now. Everything you need is right here. If we pay attention and we slow down, the mystery, nature, opens herself up and lets you see into her flower. Very true. And you don't need medicine of any kind for that, just to be still. Does that answer your question?
It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's so grounded, so beautiful. And I can talk to you forever. I can talk to you for many hours because you had such a great wisdom, and I have seen you, mi hermana, mi hermana, mi hermana, so much love. And I'm so grateful that you're here to sharing all of that. And this is a great moment for you. Everything that you share is just so wide open that is going to touch a different type of people to bring them together. Because you talk about the power of being here in a stillness with our body to experience life. Because we're a beauty, you are beauty, we are love, we are nature. So it's I have always seen life like a playground. Let's go and play and get messy.
Yes. Yes.
So I love everything. Yeah, let's get messy.
Yes.
So I want to hear for you. If you can share everything that you talk is just so beautiful and it's just so great right now that we're talking healing. And oh, Sophia, thank you. That's so beautiful. This is the suspirar, beautiful. And so when you talk, tell me, like, I know it's extensive, but when you talk about sacred feminine consciousness, what that really means, what is the core of it? Because you talk about everything that it really lead into that. And I would like to be able to people who are still in their head, they really receive what sacred feminine consciousness is for you. And
Okay.
how you are applying that for yourself.
Well, first I have to say that I am still learning what feminine consciousness is. That I think that it's not something that can be really grasped by the mind, which thank goodness for that. It's not something that I find, and I feel pretty competent and skilled with language, but language cannot capture it for me. I have not been able to. Maybe sometimes touch it, but capture it. But my body can, and that's the beauty. That sacred feminine energy is in all of us, males and females. But for the woman, we have, because of our womb, and again, this is based on indigenous practices. I know there's all kinds of belief systems out there and practices, and I honor their right to exist and their validity. So this is what I know, is what I've been taught, that feminine consciousness is, well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind, and I want to be very thoughtful that I don't overstep, because this is important. Again, this is an offering, right? And I understand that there are minds and humans that are listening. And so I want to take great responsibility. So for me, the image that comes as feminine consciousness is the womb, or a temenos, or a circle. It's a dark black wet earth space. Um, it is our bodies, all bodies. Um, it is the earth. It is the cosmic mother. My belief system, and more than a belief, it's a knowing for me, is that it's female from the earth all the way up. That's what the abuelas always tell me. And what does that mean? So the feminine consciousness is the ability to receive. It's the empty. It's the open. It's the moon, and the moon has light because it reflects the sun, right? So it's this receptivity, this flow. It's this active surrender. It's the way the water falls down from the mountain. We are the mountains. As I sit here, I am the mountain. I become the earth, and I let the river of my emotions and my being run through me. That's receive that and come through, right? That's the feminine consciousness, this knowing, this emptiness that begins for life to begin, for something to be birthed. So that's why the womb, right? So it's a holding space that can hold something, the potentiality of something to manifest, right? It's the creative power, but before the chaos and the creation is empty, it's nothing, it's void. And in raising feminine consciousness, it's a way we have to honor the rhythms, right? So it's honoring my rhythm. There's a time when my body organically wakes up in the morning, when I'm honoring my rhythms, and organically when it tells me it wants to go to bed. There's a time in the day where my energy is the most active, and there's a time when my energy starts to wane. Just like the cycles of the moon, we have our blood cycle. It's the way the water moves. It's the water, right? It's our emotions. It's our receptivity. It's the way we move, the way we pull in. And what does that mean? I mean, it's abstract, it's creative, it's in the music, it's in the dancing, it's in the drumming. The drum is a female. There's an opening, right? And so it's this part. The earth is a female, right? Because the earth opens for the seed to enter, right? The masculine, the seed, the thought, the idea, and then it closes. And then something happens, and boom, there's life, right? Feminine consciousness understands the elements and their play and how they come together and how they balance and become. Feminine consciousness is understanding that I am the earth, and what I do with my body, I'm doing to the earth. That how I treat my body, the earth feels it. And what's done to the earth, I feel it. What is done to my sister, I feel it. The stars and the planets influence my movements and my moods, and vice versa. The storms, the lightning, I am causing them, and vice versa. That is feminine consciousness. There is an awakening and understanding of the elements, understanding how they move, how we can, I don't want to go there. So there's a relationship with the elements, and we start to understand our creative powers around that. We start to understand the power of thought, of manifestation, the power of receptivity, the importance of reciprocity. We understand the relationship between our food. Food is medicine and information. The responsibility as to what we eat, what we put into our bodies, as well as what we support. It understands how to feel things that are out of balance. It has a consciousness that is constantly looking for balance, and not necessarily in this like stillness way, but that everything has a place and a balance. Shadow and light, darkness and light, pain and joy, and it comes together. She moves and brings these things together. It's love. Feminine consciousness is nurturance. It's understanding that we have a natural will to live, to move to the sun, to move towards the light, right? And that it is our responsibility to protect and nurture life in all its forms. In my art, in my music, in my words, I have a responsibility. I understand that my words have power and give shape. What I name loses power over me, and I can then work with it right where everyone can see. What I name has an influence, gets power, and so I need to be responsible of that. Feminine consciousness understands that power is not the power that has been shown us by the patriarchal white supremacist culture. Power is being awake with our bodies and connected to the earth, aware of our connection to the earth, and able to move with that, communicate with that, grow. And that's feminine. That's real power. The ability to feel, the ability to be, to create, the ability to manifest our visions and our dreams, to create our lives are the biggest pieces, are the most important art pieces we will offer to our life, to the gift of life. Our life can be an art if we decide to. And we, the architects, the authors, and create a life. We have that ability. A lot of us here, we have that privilege in this country. And so it's a lot of things, it depends on the person and where they are at in their inner work, in their development, and their consciousness. But it's awakening the body. It's the receptivity. It's the true partnership to the sacred masculine.
Yes, totally. I hear you. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for sharing all of that. Hermana Claudia, how can we support you? What kind of support do you need right now?
I'm going to beat my drum for a moment.
Sure.
Calling in my... What do I need? I need from all of you to love yourselves. Go love yourselves. And then love me back. And I love you. Sounds corny, but really it's that simple and that complex. I need help. I need help in waking up. My consciousness, my liberation is intertwined and dependent on yours. And so I need you to go inside, sit with yourself, reach out for help, create circles where people can come together and share their stories with empathy and compassion and vulnerability. If you're in a corporation that needs some help, Illinois is offering grant money right now to those organizations that want to do racial healing work, and you can use that money and find an organization that come in. THRT, Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, is working with corporations. But first, it's the person work, right? The people work has to happen first before the system and organizations. And so these are ways that we can begin. Connect with me. Find out where circles are happening, community circles, women's circles, consciousness racing circles. This is a time where we collaborate, where we come together, create spaces. That's how I need your help. I need your help in committing to your own liberation. And don't quit until you get it. I promise you it's there. Liberation, love, community, culture. Let's stop acquiescing to one narrative. Be loud, be wild, be colorful. Show up all the time, everywhere. Show up as you, because everyone else is taken. Meditate every day, like brushing your teeth. You don't want to go out and have people smell your bad breath. Well, meditate. You don't want to have to rub your bad juju on everybody else. So meditate, be still, feel yourself, give yourself that medicine. Touch yourself with oils, with flowers, with the waters of the lake, of your baths. Be good to yourself. I feel it when I'm around you. I feel what you do to your body. And it blesses me when you bless yourself. Fight for clean water. Fight for clean air. Love the water. Love the air, the earth. Love your blood. Connect with your blood and your ancestors. Connect with the stars. Go out at night and look up. Look up. Keep it wide and ground into the earth. Feel your feet, wiggle your toes in the sand. Feel your whole body. So that's a lot. I'm asking for a lot. I hope that makes sense.
It's
I do
such
have a
a
song.
beautiful, yes, that's such a beautiful offering and ask. And so thank you for that. I would love if it was possible to close with a song. And I want to say thank you to everybody who was here with us, listen this conversation. Please replay, share with people, share all this beautiful wisdom that Claudia has shared with us. And this is the time to come together and share our love and take personal responsibility to be able to really co-create what we envision for this beautiful earth. So Claudia, thank you, hermana. Mil gracias, hermana. Me llena el corazón de vida tenerte aquí y compartir este espacio. I can't wait to see you very soon y abrazarte fuerte. So, gracias. So, te dejo.
A ti, hermana, te quiero mucho. Al verte el rostro me recuerdo cuánto te extraño. It's so easy to forget the difference, right? We get caught in the Zoom. We're so busy right now. It's very sad how busy we are with Zoom. I'm still taking my time for me, but it reminds me of how much I need to see you and touch you. And I'm very grateful and moved by all the work that you do. I feel your fire in the world, making, creating. What a gift. So thank you. And I'm very honored that you thought of me and that you want to include me in this creative toy that you're playing with. And it's so powerful. Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
so I'm going to share a song. So my sister.
Close, and I see you, everybody. So we're going to close with Claudia. So, Claudia, this space is for you.
Gracias, hermana. So I'm going to share a song. It is not my song. I do have some songs, but as I meditated this morning, this song came to me. It's a song from the Algonquin tribe. One of the calls of this time right now by the grandmothers and the ancestors besides, or the abuelos and the abuelas besides, of course, waking up the feminine, healing the family back together with love, breaking through the divisions. Their call is, this is the time of the waters. We are all waking and awakening, developing and furthering our consciousness in this Aquarian age. And part of that awakening is integrating our emotional bodies, learning how to navigate our emotional world with responsibility, dignity, and integrity. And so they're calling, the waters are not well. And it's a reflection of our own internal waters. And so the grandmothers created this song, an offering, and they asked that we sing this song to ourselves because the water is the bloodline of the earth, and waters are also our bloodline. They record what we hear. Our bodies record. Water holds and records, can also cleanse and regenerate. And so it is important that we are aware of what we're doing to the waters. As we care for the waters, we are also opening space and caring for our emotional world as well as our own internal waters, our blood. Important that we drink clean water and that we restore our relationship to water. So again, this is a song from the Algonquin tribe. They ask that we sing this song to ourselves and to any bodies of water that we are around, and that we sing this song 4 times to each direction. And so the north, the east, the south, and the west. And so I will sing this song. And the song is to be sung as if you were singing it to a newborn child. It's gentle. It's the mother's wooing song, the mother's cradling song. It's to soften and call in the child so the child can open up and play and be free and feel safe. Regenerative powers being released. So it's a powerful, gentle song. The water can be very gentle and soft, and it can be very ferocious. And so we want to sing to it so it could relax and the regenerative powers to come in, and our love can be transformative. And so we sing it with gentle love. Nibi wabo tandayan aki miskwi nibi wabo heya 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 hey heya 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 ho. Nibi wabu endayan aki miskwi nibi wabu heya 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 hey heya 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 ho. Nibi wabu endayan aki miskwi nibi wabu heya 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 hey heya 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 ho. Thank you, everyone. I'm in gratitude for your trust, for allowing me to enter this intimate space with you all and have this conversation, although it felt more one way, me to you and Lisa. And if you love this song and you're moved by it, if you go to YouTube, the Algonquin tribe, it's the Algonquin song, and I think the title is Sing the Water Song. And it has a beautiful video, a story behind the song, and the song being sung. Again, the Algonquin tribe, Sing the Water Song. You will find it. It's beautiful. And again, thank you. Have a wonderful week. Mwah.